Alright, welcome to this tutorial on how to make a low poly character with Blender to use in graphic design. I made this tutorial to follow up on the lesson I had with you guys on Monday. So I'm using Blender 2.79. I have it opened already. If you don't have this version, or if you don't have Blender at all, you can get it from blender.org. And on the front page you got the download link for the latest version of Blender. And if you click here, you can find all of the other versions as well for Linux and Windows. The zip file is very handy if you have it on your USB stick, for example, and you run into computers that are not connected to the internet and you would like to use Blender on that computer. So it automatically recognizes my operating system and I can just hit download Blender here if I would need that. Okay, so we're gonna do a character from a game called Crossy Road. So it's this game that was released on 2014, and I'm waiting for my connection to pick up. Let's type that again. Crossy Road. Okay, nice. So we want to model that chicken in Blender, and I'm going to search for an image of it. What a slow connection. So we want this image, this guy. I'm gonna download it on my computer, put it on my desktop so I can find it, and then I'm gonna head over to Blender. I can get rid of the splash screen by left-clicking on it. Okay, and then I want to be able to see my reference image. So what I'm gonna do, I'm hovering my mouse over here where it turns into this reticle up over this triangle with the stripes. So I'm gonna left click and hold and pull out this other window. You can hide this window if you run into a moment where you have too many windows open. That can happen. So I'm gonna left click and hold this triangle and drag to the right and release. So that's how you work with windows in Blender. Then there's the tool shelf, and I want to get rid of that, so I'm gonna press T, the T key on my keyboard. There we go. Alright, then we're gonna have to change our view from 3D view to UV image editor. Nice. Then I'm gonna hit open and go to my desktop and click here to see thumbnails, and I can see that my chicken image is over here. If you run into a problem like we did on class where you can't really find your file, you can just drag and drop it over here. So what I would do is go on Finder and go on my desktop and find the image and just drag and drop it over here. Nice. So now we got our reference image set up. I'm also going to get rid of the tool shelf on this side, so I'm going to press T. Okay, and I'm going to press and hold down my middle mouse button and move my mouse to rotate around the cube. And then I'm going to scroll to zoom in. I'm going to press and hold down Shift while using my middle mouse button to pan my view. Okay, so I want to see my chicken kind of from the side, like this. That's good. Okay, and then I'm gonna go down here and scroll with my mouse. Yeah, I want to go into edit mode, so I'm gonna click where it says object mode and change that to edit mode. This means that we're now editing the 3D model at hand. Then I'm gonna left click on this icon. It means face select, as it says there. And right now I have everything selected, which is indicated by these orange colors. So I want to deselect everything by pressing A. Then I'm gonna right click here to select this top face. Then I'm gonna hit E to extrude this top face. There. Then I'm gonna left click. Nice. That's a good height for our chicken. And then I'm gonna make the tail. So I'm gonna right click here and press E on my keyboard again, pull with my mouse, or just move my mouse, and left click. And the tail is there. Okay. One thing you can do to get more accurate comparison to the reference image is to change your perspective. So now our view is in perspective mode, but we can change it to ortho, which means that all of the sides are represented in the length that they actually are on the 3D model. So now I can see that the tail is a bit shorter than I made it, so I can fix that by pressing G for grab and Y to move it on the Y-axis, which is this green line. The red line is X-axis and the blue line is Z-axis. So on the Z-axis we can see that the top should actually be taller. So I'm gonna press G for grab again and press Z to lock it. Lock it on the Z-axis. Nice. Left click there. All right. What about the tail? It looks like there's extrusion there, but it's pulled inwards. So we can do that by right clicking here, hit E to extrude, left click, and hit S to scale, and then press X to lock the scaling on the X-axis. So when you think you're happy with the width, just left click. Okay, and this is the base for the tip of the tail. So now I can hit E to extrude some more, and we get this nice edge, 90-degree angle there. Okay, quite happy with that. Then we're gonna need the mohawk and the beak. So for this we need something called loop cuts to make new edge loops. Okay, and I'm gonna press A to deselect everything. Then I'm gonna press and hold Control and press R to go into the loop cut mode. And when you hover your mouse over the model now, you should see this pink line which suggests your loop cut's position. But the thing is that we need more loop cuts than one. So what we can do is scroll down with our mouse wheel, and we get 2 loop cuts coming out. Okay, I want them there. I could left click, but I don't want to be inaccurate, so I'm gonna press enter 2 times on my keyboard. There. We could also do this confirmation with left clicks, but it's not accurate if you move your mouse. After the first click, there comes the slide option, which moves these loops. You'll see later. Okay, so the mohawk is kind of in the front of the head. So we need 2 more loops. I'm gonna hit Control R, scroll down, and hit Enter twice. Okay. Then I'm gonna have to spread this out because the mohawk obviously is not a square. It's shaped like longer on the y-axis. So we need to let's stretch this whole loop on the y-axis. So we could do that by selecting our face selection tool. Now press down Alt and hover your mouse over here, like in the middle of this edge, and press right click. So you can select the whole loop with ease. And now hit S to scale and Y to lock the scaling on the y-axis. Great. Now it's about there. Now we have to move this loop, so I'm gonna hit G to grab and press Y again to lock the movement on the y-axis. And when I'm happy, I'm gonna left click. There we go. Now we can extrude our mohawk. So I'm gonna right click here and hit E to extrude the mohawk. And left click when done. There. Okay, let's keep going. So now we're gonna need the beak over there. I'm gonna hit A to deselect everything. Okay, and Control R to make a loop cut, left click, and now I can slide just after one left click. I can slide where I want my loop cut, so I'd say somewhere around there. Left click to confirm, and now it's locked in that position. Okay, then another loop cut, so Control R and left click once and make it around there. Yeah, left click, and then we want loop cut in the middle because we got these 2 shapes going side by side. So I'm gonna hit Control R, and at this point I'm gonna use Enter because I want the loop cut to be in the middle, so I'm gonna press Enter 2 times. So now it's locked into the middle. And now we can go to face selection mode and right click on this face and hold down Shift and right click on this face. Then I'm going to hold down Shift and use my middle mouse button to move a bit closer and rotate and extrude by pressing E. Nice. Left click there and just select this face now and press E to extrude and left click. And now we got our beak. Quite nice. We can move it by left clicking and dragging on this green arrow to make it a bit shorter. Yeah. And then we need to make the eye. So I'm going to right click on this. Actually, no, we're not going to proceed to do the eye because that needs symmetry, such as the wings do and legs. So the way we can achieve this symmetry is by using a modifier called the mirror modifier. So I'm going to press A to deselect everything, and I'm going to split my chicken from the middle. I'm going to the front of the chicken and pressing Z to enter wireframe mode. Now I can see through my 3D model. So in the front, I'm gonna press Ctrl R, and I want the loop cut to be there in the middle of the chicken. And I'm gonna press Enter 2 times to have the loop cut there. Okay, pressing Z again, I can see the solid view. And now I want to get rid of all these faces on the other side. So I need to take the face selection tool and go back to the front and press Z. You can also do it from the top view. And I'm gonna position it very straight. You could also do it from view, top, and you get a really nice and accurate top view. I'm gonna press B for box select. So B on your keyboard to box select, and left click and drag to drag this box around those faces. There. Now these faces are selected. I'm gonna hit X, and I want to delete the faces. So I'm gonna select faces and left click there. Now the faces have been deleted, and going back to solid view and going back to object mode, I'm gonna engage in using a modifier by spreading out this tab and going to the wrench icon, clicking that with the left mouse button and clicking add modifier and choose mirror. Click there. Okay, so it seems like our axis is correct. You might have the problem where your axis is it looks like this, so then you just have to go here and see what fits you best. For me, it should be mirrored on the x-axis because I split it on there. And then I want to enable clipping. This ensures that our model is together and there is no creases or anything left there. Okay. So now we can work on our model, and in edit mode, all the while we are doing stuff, the edits that we're doing on the other side, the mirror modifier mirrors it to the other side. So we only have to do things once, basically. Okay, so I want some loop cuts for the wings. I would like to have 2. I'm going to press Ctrl R and left click and slide this loop over maybe here. I'm going to press Ctrl R again, left click, and left click there. Okay, Ctrl R and left click and left click there. Then I'm going to choose face selection mode. Right click here, hold down Shift, right click and right click to select these faces and hit E to extrude. Okay, once I'm happy, I'm going to left click. Nice. And now we can see that it automatically updates on the other side as well. It's pretty nice. That's how the mirror modifier works. And we're going to need the legs. So I could do the legs by starting to extrude this square. So I right click to select it and press E. Then I'm going to left click right away. I'm going to hit S to scale. Okay. Then I'm going to hit E again and extrude out the legs. Nice. And you can see the leg is coming out on the other side as well, thanks to the mirror modifier. Right. Then we want to make the base of the foot. So I'm going to hit E and left click. I'm going to hit S to scale. I'm gonna hit S to scale again and press X to scale it on the x-axis inwards a bit and left click there. Then I'm gonna hit E again and extrude this out and left click. Now for some reason or another you might end up in a situation where you have a hole here, and you can fill a hole by clicking here, the edge select, and right click on your edge and hold down shift and right click some more. Right click until you have all the edges selected and press F to fill. So now you got a face again. Okay, now I want to make the toes, so I'm gonna deselect everything by pressing A and right click on this face and hold down shift and right click this, and then I'm gonna hit E and left click and hit S and X to scale. So I get the left click there, and I now got the base for the toes. So I can just right click to select this face and hold down shift and right click to select this face and press E to extrude out the toes. It looks a little bit different from the, well, it's good enough. It's our chicken anyway. We're just imitating this. So there we have our 3D model. One thing that's missing though is the eye. So I'm gonna hit A to deselect everything, just to make sure, and right click on this face and hit E and left click and hit S to scale it down and left click, and then I'm gonna have to scale it on the Z axis, so I'm gonna hit S and Z and scale it up. Then I want to move it on the Y axis, so I could press G and Y, or I could left click and hold this green arrow. Let's put it around there maybe. Okay, very nice. Our 3D modeling is done. Alright, almost done. Then we can apply the mirror modifier. What this does is it makes, well, you'll see. I'll hit apply. Oh, modifiers cannot be applied in edit mode. That's correct, so we gonna change to object mode and hit apply. Now if I go back to edit mode, oh, I can see that the mirroring is gone, and what I got is actual faces everywhere. So I got a sort of full 3D model, if you will. Okay, time to do some materials, which means coloring this chicken, essentially. And in Blender Render, we can do materials by going to this tab. Is this ball. Click there, and our chicken seems to have already one material. We could use that later, but let's count how many materials we need from our reference. And it looks like we have one for the body color, one for the mohawk, and one for the beak and the legs, and one for the eye. So that's a total of four colors for the chicken. So I can add some materials by hitting the plus icon here and clicking new. Hit plus again, click new, plus again, click new. So I got 4 materials, and it's a good procedure to name your materials. So for example, this could be body. Hit enter, left click there, and make this mohawk, for example, and This could be beak, and this one the eye. Okay, now the body color is about white, so we need to make it more white. Ramp up the intensity from the slider and change the color from here. It should be 111 on your RGB values. Okay, and specular is the shininess. When light comes in, you can see some shine. I don't want that, so I'm going to take the specular intensity down to 0 by dragging. Left click and drag to change this value. Now it's 0. Okay, next one is the mohawk. I want to make it red, so I'm going to left click here and left click and hold and drag this little ball, so it's a bit purple actually. Make this, maybe that's good there. Okay, ramp up the intensity, take down the specular, and go to the beak, which is orange. And left click here and take it to the orange of the spectrum and ramp up the intensity and take off the specular. And then there's the eye. We can just make it black by doing this and take off the specular again. Okay, what about distributing these materials on our 3D model? We can do that by selecting faces. So I want this to be red and this to be red. I can hold down Shift and right click and then move, Shift and right click again to select these faces. Nice. Shift, right click. I'm just holding down Shift, and when I'm moving I let go. And now I hold down Shift again and right there. Now I got all the red parts, or parts that should be red, selected. I'm gonna choose Mohawk here and press Assign. And now you can see when I hit A, there's a red color on each. Okay. It would probably be a good idea to see if this body material is actually assigned. Is it? Let's click select here. Yes, it is. So we don't have to worry about that. Press deselect. And we can see a preview of our rendering by going over here and choosing our viewport shading to be rendered. Okay, that's kind of dark. But anyway, the surface looks the right color, so it's white. There's also the option to preview just the materials, which gives you an estimate of the shadows. And texture is pretty much the same. Anyway, we're going to work in the solid mode because we haven't set up our lights just yet. Okay, I'm going to right click to select the eye and hold down Shift and right click to select the other eye and assign the eye material. Then I'm going to right click here, hold down Shift, right click, right click, right click, right click, right click, right click again, turn on this side, hold down Shift, right click and right click, and right click, right click. And then I would also want to select the legs. So what I can do is move to the front and press C to get into the wireframe mode and press B to enter box select. Hold down your left mouse and drag this box over here and let go. So now the legs should be selected. Okay, I'm gonna press C again. Then I'm gonna select the beak material and click assign. Nice. I'm gonna hit A to deselect everything. Now our materials are set actually. So we can go back to object mode and work on the lights. Actually, we don't need the reference image anymore, so we can get rid of that. I would like to have some, maybe 3 lamps actually. When you right click to select the lamp, you get these lamp settings. We're not gonna touch them now, but if you want to experiment, you can, and it's highly recommended. I'm gonna left click and drag this red arrow to move my lamp. Then I'm gonna hold down Shift and press D to duplicate this lamp. Okay, it's duplicated, so I'm gonna left click to leave it there. And when I left click and hold and pull out, I can see there's another lamp. So what I want to do is have lamps sort of surrounding the bird and lighting it up nicely. Some could be a bit above, and Shift D to make a third lamp. Nice, over there. Okay, let's see how it looks rendered. So I'm gonna hold down Shift and press Z. Now we can see there are a bit funny shadows going all over the place, so we could fix that by getting it out of the rendered view. This can really eat your resources. By pressing Shift and Z, we get out of the rendered view. Okay, I want to move my chicken up a bit. I'm going to select it with right click and hold down Control and pull this blue arrow. So it's good there. Then I want to add a plane under it. So I'm going to press the space bar and type in add plane and hit enter. This adds a plane or any other object you want to add to the position of the 3D cursor. Now this is the 3D cursor. You can move it by left clicking. And if you ever want to position the 3D cursor back to the middle, you can just press the space bar and type in snap cursor to center. And when you press enter, your 3D cursor snaps into the center of the grid, and any object you add is then added to that position, which is very handy. So I want to scale this plane. I'm gonna hit S and move my mouse and left click. Okay, I want it to meet the feet of my character, so I'm gonna go View, Front, and move the plane by pulling the blue arrow. Right there, that's good. Okay, how does it look if I press Shift and Z? There's shadows everywhere. One thing I can do is press the globe and enable ambient occlusion, which makes for a nicer lighting. And let's see if we can get rid of some of the shadows. I'm going to pull this down, select lamp, and go to the lamp settings and choose no shadow. So this lamp doesn't do any shadows anymore, and also this lamp shouldn't do a shadow, so there's only one shadow actually left. And we could see how it looks without the ambient occlusion now. It's actually pretty nice. It's also not doing any shadows on the chicken, so this is a good way to get flat shadows if you want. Anyway, I'm gonna go with the ambient occlusion because I like that gradient kind of shadow. Alright, with ambient occlusion comes the price of getting this noise, and we can increase the sample size to get rid of this noise by making it making it 15 instead of 5. You can also make it higher if you wish, but this is going to cost you in render time because it's calculating the ray tracing of the light. So that's pretty nice. I like that. Okay, Shift Z to get back to actually work on this. I'm going to right click on the plane I just added, go into the materials and add a new material for it. I'm going to take down the specular, ramp up the intensity of the diffuse color and make it, let's make it blue like it was in the reference image. Okay, Shift Z, it looks pretty nice. Maybe the background could be black, so I'm gonna go to the globe icon and select my horizon color to be black, like so. So horizon color black. We can also make a gradient for the background, so you can check paper sky and blend sky and change the zenith color to something you want the gradient to be. Okay, nice. Then we can talk about rendering. What if we want to make an image from this 3D model we just did? For that we need the camera. So I can select it from the outliner by left clicking here, and when I Shift Z I can see it's selected here in the 3D view. Okay, but I can see the camera. How can I see what the camera actually sees? I can go to the view menu and select camera. So now I see what the camera sees. And I can control this camera by holding down Shift and pressing F. Now I get this sort of first person look. When I move my mouse I can position the camera. And I can use my W, S, A and D keys to move around the scene. This is very handy for positioning a camera. And if I wish to move faster I can hold down Shift. Okay, I think this angle would be nice, like so. Okay, Shift Z to see what it looks like in the final render. It's gonna look great. Shift and Z back. I'm gonna move it ever so slightly just to get a better view of the head. Shift and Z. Okay, nice. So then I might want to change my camera to be an orthographic one, which we did with the view. So I changed it to ortho by clicking here, orthographic. We had perspective, but now we're going with orthographic. And I can zoom out by increasing this orthographic scale, like so. Okay, nice. I'm very happy with that. So I would like to render this image out now. To do that, I have to go to this camera icon and left click. And make sure your resolution is at 100%. Right now it's the pixel amount is full HD, but it's only going to be 50% of that. So slide it up to 100 and now you get full HD resolution. Okay. And anti-aliasing is reducing the jagged edges. I usually leave that off because I like that style. Then we're gonna have to define a path for our file to be, well actually this doesn't matter because we're not outputting an animation, so you can leave it like that. PNG is a good format. Let's make it RGB. Make the color depth 16 and take the compression up to 100%. This means actually lossless output, more or less. So now we're ready to render our image. So I'm gonna click render, and Blender calculates our image. The amount of time that is spent on rendering depends on your computer. Blender runs nicely on older specs, older hardware, but you have to pay mind to your settings. So this is a pretty simple scene, so it doesn't take that long. We finish in, it took around 50 seconds to make this image. Okay, then I want to save it. So I'm gonna click here, image, save as image. Then I'm gonna put it on my desktop and give it a name, chicken model. Nice. And then I can save it as an image. Okay. Then when I make this smaller, I should see my image, chicken model there. And that concludes our tutorial. Keep on blendering.